Hello friends, welcome back to the Craft Castle. Today I have a fun project. It is my aunt's 60th birthday and she is off to Hawaii. What better way to gift someone that's going to Hawaii than a customized hat? So these are not your typical straw hats that you would wear at the beach because she doesn't really wear those. And she's also taking my uncle and I feel like they can have a little bit of matching hats. So I got these off of Amazon and we are going to personalize them. I'm going to put something on the brim of both of the hats. The color choices that I'm using today for these hats, it's going to be a little different because it's for my aunt, and this right here, this like neon yellow green color is my aunt's favorite color. So I'm going to do something with this, and then I also have a little bit of black HTV. Both of these are going to be found at Polytape, and I am just so excited. I think it's going to make these hats look really good. The reason why I chose black is because the strings are black and the hardware is black, so I didn't want to like kind of have things clash, so I chose just some black, and then for sure we're going to be using this. Okay, so for this project you are going to need a computer and a Cricut because we are going to design something that goes on the brim of this. You are going to need a little heat press. A big heat press is all right for this project. However, you're going to want something small just to put on the brim. I don't need my gigantic heat press here because I don't need it for the entire project. I only need it for right here. So having like this small little guy would be super helpful for this project. This one is an off-brand Cricut mini heat press and I absolutely love it. You're going to need like a small little heat resistant mat just so you don't damage your table. A weeding pick, my favorite weeding tool is this little pen that has a sharp needle on it. And you are going to need also a fabric measuring tape with your brimmed hat. I'll show you the reason why, but this, if you get a different hat than me and you have a brimmed hat, I'm going to show you how to make sure that your lettering will be curved perfectly in here and will fit in here. So you are going to need a ruler. I absolutely love fabric measuring tapes just because it gives it more bend and pliability versus like a rigid ruler. Okay, so let's go to the computer and do a little bit of design work. We are also going to need the hat and the ruler for this next portion of the project. Okay, so let's go to the computer and do a little bit of design work. We are also going to need the hat and the ruler for this next portion of the project. Okay, so to start, we're just gonna go over here into these 3 hamburger lines and we're gonna go to canvas. Okay, first you're gonna wanna do is insert a shapes. We're gonna go over here into shapes and we're gonna insert a circle. Okay, and then using our fabric measuring tape, what we're going to do is we're gonna go from the inside portion. You see where this like seam is in the hat? We're going to take our ruler or fabric measuring tape and we're going to go from one side to the other side. Easiest way to do this is to lay it flat and kind of squish it down as best as possible. We're going to go from one to another. So I'm going to make this, almost 11.5 inches. Okay, the very next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to duplicate this. So Command D, which is duplicate. And we can go from the top portion of the brim. So we're going to go from here all the way over to the other top portion of the brim. So laying it down flat again, we're going to go from one side to the other side. That looks like it's going to be 7 3/4. So taking this circle that we already duplicated and we're going to make this 7 3/4. Okay, then what you want to do is select both of your circles and we're going to line it to the center. Okay, to double check our work, because there's nothing like screwing up after you get done cutting your HTV and it didn't work or it didn't fit. What you want to do is take your fabric measuring tape and go from this portion to where that seam is. You don't want anything on that seam because it'll end up looking kind of funny and rigid. So you just want to stay inside that little area. And for me, it's going to be 2 inches. So just to double check our work, I'm going to go over into shapes and I'm going to insert a square. I'm going to change this over into a pink, or any color, it doesn't matter. And it's already set to 2 inches. And I'm going to just come over here and I'm going to line this up just to make sure. So you see how something in this hat, because the hat's not perfectly fat, something in this hat is saying that it's to the larger circle or something, like the spacing is off right here. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this one smaller hat and I'm gonna make it smaller. I'm gonna drag this up. I want the very tip of my pink circle to be at the bottom, and then let's change this over into a light blue. Okay, and then I want this to be at the top of my square. Okay, so now let's just drag and select only both of those two circles, and we're gonna align it to the center. And you see how now there's a little bit of overlapping going on? So let's just make it a little bit smaller. We want to make sure it fits in our circle. Okay, and then we're just going to align this to the center. Okay, so it looks like the very tip of that blue circle and the very bottom of that gray circle is perfectly aligned. So then we're just going to delete that pink square and we're going to zoom out. Now what you want to do is selecting both of these, and we're just going to slice. We're going to delete the inside portion of our donuts, and here is what that brim of the hat is. So what our hat is right here, that is going to be where we're going to put all of our font. Now that you have that done, we're going to go over here into operation and we're going to change it to a guide, because that is our guide. This little outside part right here is going to be our donut, and that's our guide to tell us where we can and cannot put our font. So if you're designing this and you have your font and it's outside of this area or inside this area, that means that it's going to get cut off or lay really weird on your hat. We want to keep whatever we're doing to be inside this little area. So I'm going to insert a text box. So just come over here and press text, and we can do beach please. That's what I'm gonna do. Beach please. They're going to Hawaii. And I'm gonna change over the font. So I'm gonna come over into the Cricut fonts. I'm just gonna use a Cricut font for this project. And I'm gonna come over here to the arrow and keep going over until you see cursive, because I want like a cursive font. Okay, so I just picked out any type of font, and I got this one. It's flannel shirt, which is actually kind of funny since they're going to Hawaii. Hopefully they're not wearing flannels, but I like the flannel shirt just because it's a little bit more wispy. So let's do that one. And then I'm gonna drag it down in this little area. Okay. So I kind of want it to be a little bit curved. We have a curved hat, so I want it to curve a little bit. I'm going to come up here into curve, and I'm going to bend this to the left. If you bend it to the left, the curve is going to go up. Do you see how it's curving up? If you bend it to the right, it's going to curve down. Well, I want it to curve up, so I'm going to do it like this. And the sad thing about using cursive fonts is that you see how now the fonts are disconnecting a little bit. Let's go over here into letter spacing, and let's just close in the space just a little bit. Ooh, I love that. Okay, and then in our original, when we had the beach please, that A and the S right there was always disconnected. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this. I like the look of this. I like that it's curved just a little bit. Now, if you don't like the curve, keep doing the curve until you get something that you do like. What you don't want to do is do the next step, and then you'll be stuck with not being able to do the curve feature again. So when you've got the curve the way you want to, and you're spacing the way you think you want to, this right here is never going to connect because that's how it was in the original. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into advanced and ungroup to letters. I'm going to click out, and I'm going to select that E and shift on my keyboard, and then that S. And I am just going to drag it over just a little bit, just so it does finally connect. Okay, so when you're done with that and you like your font just the way it is, we're going to go back in and we are going to select. So pressing Shift on your keyboard and selecting all of the font that you have. And I'm going to go down here into Combined and then Weld. Perfect. Okay, so I think it's going to need something a little extra. So I'm going to go over here into images, and I think a palm tree sounds really good. So I'm just going to search up palm tree in the images, and I'm going to find a palm tree that I really like. Okay, when you found one that you like, just click on it, and then you're going to see it down here at the bottom, and you're going to add to canvas. We're just going to insert this, make it a little bit smaller. Okay, and in order to rotate it, what you can do is you can come over here into rotate, and you can do the up and down arrows, and you can rotate it that way. Or what we can do is let me zoom in. So when we resized it, we went like this, and that arrow is like kind of like out of slanted. But if we go like this and hover just a little bit outside of it, do you see how now that arrow is a curve? That means that instead of resizing it, we're going to rotate it. Let's rotate it. It looks like it's going to be a little bit too big, so I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller, and we're just going to place it wherever. Okay, so I am just going to play around with the colors a little bit because I don't know if I am going to use the black. Maybe I'm only going to use, oh, you know what I'm going to do? Okay, so here is the green. I know for sure I want that green to be that lime green that I chose for my aunt because it's her favorite color. So I'm going to do Beach Please in that lime green. But I want to do an offset, and I'm going to use the glitter black for that offset. So I'm going to come over here into offset, and I'm just going to create a little bit of a shadow and just dragging this over. And then when you have your shadow the way you want, just press apply. So now I have a black shadow. That's going to be black glitter. I'm going to keep my palm tree as black as well because I also want that to be in the glitter. But for sure, I want the main focus to be that limey green color because that's my aunt's favorite color. Okay, so to make sure that the spacing is going to be correct for this to this, let's pause for a second. If we were to go into make it, do you see how now this right here is its own thing and this right here is its own thing? And technically what it was supposed to look like is something along the lines of this, right? That's how it was supposed to look. And this goes for like if you had a font or anything, then you have the spacing exactly the way you want. What you want to do is you want to select that black palm tree, shift on your keyboard and select the black Beach Please, and we're going to press attach. So now when you go into make it, what's going to happen is you see how it's all connected together? That's perfect. Okay, so I canceled out of it. You can see when I went into the cut feature that our outline disappeared. That's perfect. We don't need this, and we don't need to cut it out. When it comes to HTV, you always want to flip or mirror. I always like to do this in the design process because I have other opportunities to hopefully remember if I end up forgetting in this step. It has happened before, so I just like to be for sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my black attached Beach Please and the palm tree. I'm also going to select my welded lime green Beach Please. I'm going to come over here into flip and then flip horizontally. Okay. Then you're only going to cut two things, this Beach Please in the black and then this lime green. I'm going to save this. Then we'll go into make. And then do you see how now it is mirrored? Both of these are mirrored and our outline is nowhere to be found. Now, if you forgot to mirror horizontally or flip horizontally in the design process, you can come over here and press that mirror button and it'll flip it. See how it flipped it back to a legible state? We don't want that. So we want to mirror it. We want to make sure that we have that off because we already did that step. Working with HTV, you always want to mirror. Okay, I am making two hats, one for my aunt, one for my uncle. So I'm going to come up into Project Copies, make two, and press apply. To save on space, I'm going to drag this up just a little bit. And I'm also going to drag this up just a little bit just so we save our HTV. Because HTV is kind of expensive. You don't want to waste it. Okay, then press continue. Cut this out on your Cricuts and come to me and I will show you how to finish applying it onto your hat. As my machine cuts, all I'm going to do is I'm going to start heating up my little heat press. This little thing does not take long to heat up. As my black HTV cuts, I'm going to use my guillotine cutter and I'm just going to cut out. It's going to be really hard to see, but the line for the P is right there, the very end. I'm just going to cut the excess off so I can save my scraps. Sometimes HTV is hard to weed or takes a little bit more pressure or time to weed. What I like to do is just take my little heat press and I like to warm up my heat pressing mat just a little bit. It does not need to be scorching hot. Then you just want to lay out your HTV transfer and just weed on top of a warmed heat pressing mat. That was quick and easy. Okay, then you just want to come in with your fabric or with your weeding pick and you just want to weed out the excess. Same thing like in gardening, we just weed out what we don't want. Okay, so there is our finished weeded decal. I am just going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut these apart from each other because we're gonna do one for each hat. Doing the same thing with my black glitter HTV, I'm just gonna take my guillotine cutter and I'm gonna cut out the excess. We can save this later for scraps because it's still usable. Same thing as before, because my heat pressing mat has cooled down, I'm just gonna take my heated up little heat press and warm it up just a little bit. It does not need to be scorching hot. You should be able to put your hand on it. Then just take your weeding tool. Okay, doing the same thing, I'm just going to take a pair of scissors, cutting out the excess. Okay, and for the black glitter, because I want to make sure that it curves really nice on my hat, I'm going to just trim this up really close to the actual decal. That way it has a nice room to bend. So I'm taking this carrier sheet and I'm going to trim it really close. Okay, taking one of my hats. Now on this hat there is a tag, that's the back, and then we have the front. I think I want to put them on the front of the brim, so laying it just as flat as possible. The middle is right there, so I'm going to do I'm going to do it a little bit cockeyed, so if this isn't perfectly centered, it will look like I didn't mess up, like I did that on purpose. So I'm going to do it like this. This hat made it really easy because there is actually an additional seam right there, so we're just going to match that up. There we go. Okay, then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my heat press, my little baby heat press, and I'm going to press this down. You don't want to slide it around too much. You want to press down with firm pressure. Pick it up, press it down again with firm pressure. You don't want to slide this back and forth. Pick it up, pushing down. Pick it up, push it down. Okay, we're going to go back over. Glitter HTV tends to be a little bit more finicky, so you want to make sure that it's really pushed down nice and good. Okay, when you have that pressed down, then all you want to do is peel away the carrier sheet. There we go. Okay, taking one of your decals and we're going to line it back over the top because remember this is like a good offset. So it should line up perfectly. Let's see here. Beach of Please seem to be a little misshapen. So we're going to just trim it up. We'll do beach. There we go. Okay, and doing the same steps, you're just going to press it down. Pick it up, press it down, pick it up. Okay, then when you have that done, we're just gonna peel away the carrier sheet. Okay, and the last final step for this decal, you just want to set a piece of parchment paper down. If you don't have parchment paper, just butcher paper or regular printer paper, something to protect your decal. Put that on top, and then we're just gonna do another good final press on everything. That way it is nice and tacked on there and it won't be any lifting or anything like that. All right, now I have two final hats ready for the beach in Hawaii. Look at how stinking cute this is. Happy birthday to my aunt. I sure hope that she loves these hats. And for everyone else, I sure hope I inspired you to create, and I will see you later.